I met a Gypsy.
Or like when you went there the first time and you got your first win, like what did you think it was going to turn into?
So the first year I went, I was 14. And obviously it was way.
Were your parents?
Well, my dad
were there.
My
They
dad,
helped me build the jump.
my dad wrote an email like, "Hey, why not give Kyle a chance?" And I was like, my dad's like, "Hey, you want to try it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did that one drop at the Norba in Deer Valley." I was like, "Yeah, I could do some drops." My dad was so supportive too that like, he's like, "Yeah, I heard about it, and I seen Bender doing that kind of stuff in Utah," and I was like, my dad's like, "There's an event. Shoot, you want to go?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Cool, let's go." And he's like, I'm like, "Dad, what happens if I can't do it?" He's like, "Well, there's a jump contest afterwards, and you can do the jump comp." And I was like, "It seems fine." Yeah. I was like, "Oh, okay, it's a win-win. If I can't do it, no big deal." I get out there and we all like, and it wasn't just me like, "Oh, if I can't do it, no big deal." It was like all of mountain bikers, right? So, and there was mountain bikers from all across everything, right? From North Shore, like Canadian Freeride to World Cup downhill, right? Yeah. To, US racers, to everything like that, right? So there was kind of like roughly two different groups, like, North Shore Freeride and then like kind of racer group. And I was like, well, I kind of seen these racers at the races, and I was like, hey, can I follow you? So at that time, it wasn't just me like experiencing what Rampage, it was everyone was experiencing it together. Yeah. And we were like figuring out what you could and couldn't do, like, and then from then on the first time I won was when I was 17. So like 4 years after that from the first one. And that one, from the beginning, we all were trying to, especially myself, I was trying to bring tricks in because that's what I knew. I knew how to do dirt jumps and tricks and things like that. So from there, it just kind of went and kept growing, and then we kept getting bigger. And even in 2004, like the drops that we were doing then, it was still massive to today. So it grew up really quick, and then it had that break to 04 to 08, and then they brought in wood stuff, and we were trying, all sorts of different things, and then went every other year after that, and then every year from 14, so maybe somewhere from there. So for me, experiencing it in the beginning, it was like, oh, this is really beautiful. Wow. All right, cool. We're going to ride this, just a little kid, just like, oh, okay, all right, cool. And then just spent so much time out there that just always was comfortable no matter what, every time I went there. A lot of people thought I was from Utah. I was like, no, man, I got mountains, but I don't have any of this. Yeah. So I don't know. It's definitely a different experience. And I think with the experience that I have there, I think that's I've been able to like ride it for so long because of that experience. Yeah, that makes total sense, that it's like a place that takes years to just build up. It's like a backcountry snowboard type vibe, where it's like you have to know the mountains. Like you have to be a mountain man almost to make that shit work. Like you could be the best park rider and, on fucking... Yeah, you could be the best at Paula and then go to the sand track and totally blow. Yeah, and it's like you just need... But it's not even the snowboarding or the moto or the mountain biking that you need to be good at. It's like, no, just being in the mountains. Mm-hmm. Like just being in this zone physically is what you have to almost get good at, and not being like intimidated and understanding, like you said, standing on one leg, one rock, like shoveling out it. It's like you have to know that that's going to be able to stay there. For sure. Yeah. It's a while. Yeah, I hope you get to go there, man. Yeah, it's I definitely. Really cool. I think I'll just make it happen next year. You should. Like, I'll just try and get out there. But where would you like to see it go in the future? I mean, with my riding style, I have no idea what direction it's going to go, right? With my riding style, I would like to see it stay big mountain, right? Yeah. And like for me, that's my style. And so like, I'd like to see it go that way. It's not always going to go that way. Who knows where it's going to go? I think with it, it's all dependent on locations, right? So like, does that venue that they pick going to have something bigger? Or is it going to have, the bones of it roughly to be able to make a bigger drop, to be able to do bigger things, like to build up multiple big drops in a row? I mean, we can't just make it, it has to be there, right? So I would love to see that go that direction, but I have no idea. I mean, it seems like it would be much simpler and easier to like make it more on the slopestyle or big mountain slopestyle side. You know what I mean? A lot of that stuff is like sometimes won or lost at the bottom couple jumps, right? Yeah. And so for me, I like the other direction, but I mean, luckily there's a couple riders like Tom and Seaberg and Carson and those guys that like, that's their style. Braga. Yeah. Like they're down with that. And so it's for me, I'm like stoked to see that like, all right, cool. Like one day when I'm out, like they're going to keep that kind of going on, which is really cool.
Yeah, because I guess when because it's a huge event for Red Bull. Oh, yeah. You know, like I feel like Rampage was probably like the signature series event. Like they don't do signature series stuff anymore, do they?
No, I don't think so. Yeah. It's definitely the pinnacle though of their series, and then also for like their NBC spot and so on. It was pretty big, and then obviously with their online stuff, it was insane. Yeah.
So I think that it's such a key event for Red Bull, and it just feels like it makes so many careers. Like you can really, you know, kind of provide for yourself off that, or you can create a name for yourself, you know, at that event. So it's like it definitely needs to stay.
What's really cool is that, so like when I was younger traveling, if some old lady on the plane next to me was like, oh, hey, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I ride bicycles, mountain bikes. And they're like, and back in the day, it used to be like, oh, do you wear spandex or do you hop around? And like, I was like, no, I kind of do more gravity, like downhill. And they're like, so spandex or hopping? And I'm like, no. Yeah. And nowadays it's like, do you wear spandex or you ride off the cliffs?
Yeah, you do Rampage.
And I'm like, oh yeah, the cliff one, that's me. So it's cool that it's gotten that big at such a big audience that don't even really know mountain bikes, right? Yeah. Which is really cool, you know, and I'm glad to be part of it.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.